Evening.
Yes, yes.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, all.
Yeah.
Good evening, all.
Yes, yes.
Good
Everyone.
evening. Good evening.
Good evening, and I welcome eminent panelists to this program today. It's a continuing series of our webinars that we do, and we have with us Mr. Devanjan Banerjee, Mr. Rakhi Gupta, and Mr. Thirumoy Banerjee, who have been very gladly consented for this program. And I am, on behalf of my organization, I am thankful to them for having assented to the same at a very short notice. And on a very, of course, it's a very a debatable but a very necessity issue in society. Now, this seminar is basically being based to discuss on what role the media can play as a responsible uh, pillar of the society for creating social awareness in a matter which I have experienced very few people are socially conscious of or are giving some address to the issue. And this is regarding the rights of children who are caught in a midst of marital discord and turmoil off and on the court. Because there are many cases which I have seen which are not on the courts, but they have marital discords and they are living separately. But the children get caught in between. Now, there is no voice for these children, unfortunately, in our country, although there is a separate ministry for children and women, as you know, in the central government as well as in the states. But the ministry and the other arms of the government, and in fact, even the child rights organizations who are working in India, like TRI, SAFE, HOPE, everything, they are mainly addressing issues relating to child trafficking or POXO, etc. But they are not at all addressing to this issue, which is very vital, and you'll be surprised to know that it is around 1 lakh of children get affected every year in India in this issue. And there is a symptom which they face, which is called parental alienation syndrome. That the WHO has also been working on this, and they have published this in their ICDS 11. And India being a signatory to the UN Charter, but unfortunately, this is a aspect which is given very less thought of, and we are not sensitized to this. So it came to our idea in our mind that the best way of sensitizing this issue and to bring it forward to the society, to all arms of society, including the police, the courts, the judiciary, the legislature, and of course our political leaders who represent us in the forum and the parliaments, is the media. And the media has a very vital role to play. I have seen very little articles being published or features being published on this theme anywhere in the mainstream media or in the regional media, either in print or in the electronic. So I thought that this should be a forum where we can discuss what role the media could play and how it can play in sensitizing the issue and bring in the rights of the children and to save the children from further distress, because the children are the human capital of a country. Now, this is not a new phenomena that I'm talking about. If you go to Google and do a Google search, you'll get a lot of information about parental alienation syndrome and parental alienation. And this is a fact which is going on for decades and for years. Not only in India, it goes on in all over the world because it's a phenomena which arises from human psychology. So, without much deliberating further on this, I would first introduce the speakers at the time when they start speaking. And I have kept this program for around 1 hour, but it can be maybe extended if we need to. And the honorable speakers will be allotted around 20 minutes of time to share their thoughts. So I would address the gathering by first asking Mr. Devanjan Banerjee to speak on the topic. He is an educator, speaker, and the head of Department of Media and NSHM Knowledge Campus, and the head examiner of the Maulana Abdul Kalam University, also a visiting professor of Satyajit Ray Film Television Institute, the Ministry of INB, Government of India. So, Mr. Banerjee, I would request you to please address us.
Thank you, Mr. Orijit Mitro and Ayushman, for inviting me in this very important and very crucial topic, which we are all going to discuss today in an informal way. That the role of media and child rights during these marital disputes. So it's a very sensational topic, very crucial topic at this crucial juncture. During the last 30 to 40 years, even today itself, we can witness that a huge amount of child abuse is taking place across the globe. And we are not also an exception in our country, in our state. There's a huge amount of exploitation is going on, and the children are the worst victim. Under these prevailing circumstances, what exactly Mr. Mitro has mentioned, the media can play a very big pivotal role to mitigate, at least. I cannot say eradicate, because eradication within a very short time span is very difficult. But definitely, the media has the potential to at least to spread this kind of abuses in front of the society by coming up with different articles, features, different programs, social media awareness programs, programs on television channels, uh, uh, features articles, editorials, post editorials in different print mediums. Even different types of documentaries can be made by the filmmakers. They're also part of media. So media can play a very important role, at least to spread the awareness that how the children are being harassed, heckled within the families, not only in the urban areas, even in the rural areas also. During these marital disputes, they're the worst victim. So before I start, I was a journalist for 7 years, work for indiatimes.com, Times Internet Limited. Yes, Mr. Mitro, it's very true. If we go through the media content, whether the content is for the print, whether we start searching the content on television channels, different radio stations, even our favorite social media and the new media, you seldom get articles, features, stories, news stories, anything about this child abuse. Yes, sometimes we get, but it is very but once in a blue moon. Maybe in a 1 month, if you start doing a research, that how many stories are coming up in a newspaper as a form of an article, news story, feature, editorial, post edit, social media stories, stories on news portals, different panel discussions, different kinds of programs to create awareness how these children are being exploited. You never find. You will definitely find. I am telling the idiom as I'm using that, um, once in a blue moon. So this is the reality, and media can definitely play an important role. But on the contrary, in reality, media is not playing the role. I'm just giving you statistics. Being a teacher right now, as a media educator, that although in India is home to 17%, more precisely, although India is home to 17% of the world children population and has the world's largest child population. This is the real statistics all about. Despite this, India's children are often neglected and their rights ignored. Of the 430 million, I'm giving a very precise statistics, of the 430 million children in India, an estimated 55%, a staggering 236.5 million currently experience rights violation. This is an interview-based story published by World Health Organization and UNESCO jointly in the year 2016. It is definitely 4 years previous story, but you can understand that 17% of the world children population staying in India, and it has got the largest population. Despite this, India's children are often and neglected, and their rights are ignored. Out of these 430 million children in India, an estimated 55% of 430 million leads to 36.5%, 5 million currently experience this rights violation. Now, let's talk about media. Biggest geographical size our country has got, huge population, numerous language, and media landscape of India is one of the oldest and largest in the world. Its penetration is proliferating day by day, and nowadays almost 95% of the Indians can access media in different media platforms. It can be print, it can be television channels, it can be film, it can be radio stations, and nowadays internet, news portals, voters, and definitely social media. So this vast, fragmented, complex, and highly diverse country we have, and our media is also catering the need. In addition, along with media, I can give you a very precise statistics of almost 3 million NGOs are active in India. Also has one of the largest NGO sectors. They are also working. So everybody is working, but ultimately, end of the day, what we find that yes, very less amount of stories, very less amount of media coverage is coming up, and which should not be. And if media is little proactive, media is little playing their social responsibility towards this very crucial issue, definitely something can be done. In addition to that, I can say the majority of this child rights advocates among them view media as extremely important and powerful in achieving the civil society goals of ensuring child rights and exercising pressure to hold government accountable for them. So media can make some stories. Media has a tremendous strength, especially in this democratic setup where we wake up with media, we take our breakfast with media, we have a lunch with media, we walk with media, we dream with media, we sleep with media. So media is 365 days in our life, 24 hours every day. So definitely, if media is very sincere, very active, media can definitely make government responsible, and force the government to come up a stringent action those who are doing these malpractices against the children's, especially during different marital disputes. Not only marital, in case of different disputes where children are the worst victim. So this media can do. But on the contrary, what we find in many occasions, media fail to fulfill its potential. Therefore, media is repeatedly criticized for its lack of adequate, balanced coverage on child-related issues and the absence of children's voice in news reporting. This is very important. That yes, in reality, what we find, media is repeatedly criticized for its lack of adequate, balanced coverage on children-related issues, and the absence of children's voice in news reporting in all media platforms. You seldom get stories where children are being abused, and the media is very vocal. Media is giving prominent position in newspaper, in the front page stories, else the stories which is coming in the prime time on television channels, or maybe the lead stories on any of the news portals. Maybe they cover, but the coverage proportion is very less. The frequency is very less, and the space they are giving is very less. Even you cannot follow this. So this is the reality. Now, before I going for this, let me give you a statistics like the media platforms. Now we have more or less five major media platforms. Like one is our smartphone. Now it has become one of the biggest ever the media platform. So one is a mobile, one is television, which is the viewers, then the print, the readers, then the radio, the listeners, and the internet. So if we go to the statistics for the consumers in terms of millions, the mobile is being used by more than 1,300 million Indians nowadays. Even more. If the today's statistics, it can be another 100, at least 5 to 6 million more. In case of television viewers, it is almost 1,000. In case of print, it is almost 700. In case of radio, it is almost 500, and in case of internet, it is almost 400 million. And the annual growth, which is called the cumulative average growth rate of all these medium. Take for example for mobile, no statistics, we have not yet received any statistics till that. But in case of television, it is 5.2% growth. In case of print, the growth is little less, 0.8. In case of radio, 1.9, and in case of internet, 24.2%. So try to understand, there is a growth, tremendous, stupendous growth of internet, and hello, then comes mobile phone, and then comes definitely television and print. So this amount of media is growing in our country, and you can understand there's a huge amount of media consumption is going on among the Indians, even in the rural sector, in the urban sector, in the semi-rural sector, semi-urban sectors. So if at least 5% of this content 5% of the respective media, which right now I have mentioned, for the social media, the internet, the radio, the print, the television, even the smartphone. So if at least 5% of this content can be devoted for these children related issues, the issues pertaining to their abuses, their problem, things can be definitely solved. But in reality, we don't get this kind of content. In very less amount of coverage is being executed by the leading media brands, leading media houses, representing different media platforms, and they are very reluctant. This is very unfortunate state of affairs, but this is the reality. Now, before going for the next one, there is a social responsibility of media, and this kind of story has to be highlighted by media. It is one of the major social responsibilities of the media. Media should perform. Media has to perform. In terms of how they can perform, take for example, in case of newspapers, in case of magazines like the print media, the traditional media, in terms they can come up with articles, special features, interviews, case studies. In case of television channels, they can come up with television spots, they can come up with special features, they can come up with serials to protect child rights, panel discussions to protect child rights. Even some of the soap operas, if the script of the soap operas are pro children and protecting the children, so something can be done. In case of radio, the media can come up with hearing radio jingles, the songs, series of programs related to children. In case of a film, promoting or producing films, documentaries, feature films on children's issues. In case of this so-called internet, we can come up with different public opinion to prevent violence against children and value the girl child. Promotion through forms of digital media, different forms of digital platforms, including social media updates, social media content. So this is the role of media. Media should play, but in reality, what we find, the media is not playing this role. And ultimately, media is very selective. Media is much busy with the political stories. Media is much busy with the cheap entertainment stories, and media is often neglecting these core issues. Maybe these core issues are not giving them the TRPs, but in reality, we need to win the war, not the battles. If the media is very sincere, especially I'm talking about the Indian media, few channels, few newspapers are to an extent concerned about these children issues, but the majority of the Indian channels, majority of the Indian radio stations, the news portals, and the newspapers and magazines don't care about this children issue. Now, if we go through the international media, definitely if we go through BBC, CNN, uh, uh, other the news agencies, even the news agencies like Reuters, like the international agency like Reuters, Agence France Presse, the French news agency, the AP, Associated Press, even the Russian news agency Itartas, I do follow as a ex media person and now as a media educator religiously. I get some content. At least I cannot say the huge amount of children related issues they are covering, but at least they are in a better position to its in comparison with its Indian counterpart. So it is very unfortunate, and it's very unfortunate story that in this subcontinent, not only in India, in these SARC countries like in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Maldives, maximum child abuse is taking place. But in reality, media is not at all highlighting this issue. This is my take. So I'd like to hand over now I'm telling Mr. Mitro to give opportunity to other speakers. They can definitely enlighten the issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee, for sharing your insights. And maybe after the panelists have spoken, we might have one or two
Sure, sure,
ideas
sure,
on how to go forward with this. I
sure,
would
sure.
now request Mrs. Rakhi Mitra to address us. She is a very active on the social media, and she's a media actually input content writer also. So I would request Rakhi to please share your opinion here on this issue. I think it is your, this is mute. अपना स्पीकर था वो म्यूट. Yes.
Yeah, good evening, Orijit. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and good evening to everyone. First thing I would like to say that being a mother, first of all, I'm a mother. I'm a social media activist, a voluntary worker, there are certain issues which are very close to my heart. One of them is the issue of pet abandonment. The second issue is of the children with divorced parents. And the third issue that is very close to my heart is mental health. People do not bother about mental health at all. People think it's no sickness at all. So these three issues are very important to me. And again, I would like to say that being a mother, there's a small poem with which I will start my program. It is a poem written by an anonymous writer. The name of the poem is The Last Time. It's about, because the issue is on children, this line starts with, from the moment you hold your baby in your arms, you will never be the same. You might long for the person you were before, when you had freedom of time, and nothing in particular to worry about. You will know tiredness like you never knew it before, and days will run into days that are exactly the same, full of feedings and burping, nappy changing and crying, whining and fighting, naps or a lack of naps. It might seem like a never-ending cycle. But don't forget, there is a last time for everything. There will come a time when you will feed your baby for the very last time. They will fall asleep on you after a long day, and it will be the last time you ever hold your sleeping child. One day you will carry them on your hip and set them down and never pick them up the way again. You will scrub their hair in the bath one night, and from that day on, they will want to bathe alone. They will hold your hand to cross the road. They never reach for it again. They will creep into your room at midnight for cuddles, and it will be the last night you ever wake to this. One afternoon you will sing the wheels on the bus and do all the actions, then never sing them that song again. They will kiss you goodbye at the school gate. The next day they will ask to walk to the gate alone. You will read a final bedtime story and wipe your last dirty face. They will run to you with arms raised for the very last time. The thing is, you won't even know it's the last time until there are no more times. And even then, it will take you a while to realize. So while you are living in these times, remember, there are only so many of them. And when they are gone, you will earn for just one more day of these, one last time. This is a poem related to children. And our issue today is children who suffer because of divorce. The children did not come into this world, we bought them. They did not want this divorce. No children wants a divorce. Divorce is always non-acceptable for a majority of the children. For those who experience it, the effects are modest and relatively short-lived. Maybe within 2 years of a separation of a majority of the parents, they regain their equilibrium, establish polite but distant communication with their ex-partner, and their children in turn adapt to the new living arrangements. Still, most children report painful feelings about their parents' divorce, and a significant majority of the children suffer extended and prolonged symptomatology related to this parental conflict. In fact, children, as far as I have seen them, they are never able to come out of this divorce thing. It affects them a lot. It affects them. Maybe a divorce is a solution for the parents, but it is not a solution for any child. Any child in any part of the world, they cannot take it. A parental conflict before, during, and after divorce, it has its harmful effects, especially on children. But there is a clear consensus amongst the researchers and clinicians that the child's best interest is served by maintaining a relationship with both the parents, except in cases where there is a huge amount of abuse, either from the side of the father or from the side of the mother. Otherwise, a child should always have a relationship, maintain a proper relation. A child should, in fact, be allowed to maintain a relationship with both the parents. Unfortunately, there are many fathers who face a bitter relationship with their former partner. Simply, these fathers, they simply drop out of their child's lives. I will not say it is only the case of fathers. It may be the case of mothers too. They have a bitter relationship with their ex-partners and they drop out of the children. They do not want to take the responsibility of these children. So, and when this happens, it is the child who suffers a double disadvantage. The disadvantage of a psychological loss of a parent and the loss of a financial support. There are lots of advisors, experts who advise on this, that parents should set aside their own negative feelings and develop a collaborative and cooperative business type of relationship with the person who may be the cause of their personal distress. You may be having a problem with your husband or with your wife. They may, the moment you look at them after a divorce, they may cause you distress. But that distress should not come in between the relationship of the child and his parents. For the sake of the child, I would again say, for the sake of the child, the parents should try to maintain a cordial and a business-like relationship. Let the child enjoy the parents. The child has no fault. In case of any divorce, the child has no fault. It is the parents who, because of some reason, are going for a divorce. In recent years, we have found the recognition and benefit for children and parents when they go for alternatives to the adversarial legal system while reaching at a resolution of dispute about shared parenting after divorce. These include mediation and assessment service. We often find nowadays parents talking to healthcare professionals about the timing of the divorce and wonder whether there is an age at which children are immune to the negative effects of parental separation. I really don't know whether this is followed in India or not. Whether parents think that for the sake of the children, they should fix the time and the year when the child will be least affected. If the child is too small, maybe the child will not understand. If the child is grown up, the child will understand. So fixing up of that time is available abroad. I do not know very much. I need to talk to Arijit about it. I need to know more about this. But the truth is, the children of all ages are sensitive to parental divorce. Their reactions are expressed in ways consistent with their developmental stage. Moreover, all or most children are sensitive to all parental conflict. They are. Whether people agree or not, they are. Including suppressed polite hostility. They can understand that the atmosphere is hostile at home. The research says that children are sensitive to the resolution of conflict, which means they are aware that a dispute has been resolved. Even very small children, very young children, whom we say very, very young, we think they don't understand. But they do understand whether a parental conflict has been resolved or not. If children, in our country I'm speaking, if children have the opportunity to witness the resolution of a conflict, they benefit a lot by learning from the process. And on the other hand, those who experience the divorce of their parents display a range of emotions, a behavioral change, and in the months to come, the children will face those challenges in their neighborhood, in their schools, in their colleges. They need to overcome that. There are separation anxieties. It appears more in children. They become irritable. They become demanding, non-compliant. They experience problems in social relationships, and their school performance also deteriorates. I'm telling this being a teacher myself. At that time, the children must be made to know. This is the most important thing, I think, which I'll like to tell the parents who are going in for divorce. At that time, the children must be made to know that they are not the reason for the divorce or the separation. They can never be the reason for divorce and separation. That they are loved by both parents and their needs will be met. Now let me come to how media can affect. Yes, in our country, media is interested only in TRP. These issues like the children of divorce cases, child abuse cases, even I was talking about mental health and mental sickness. These are some issues about which media doesn't like to talk because they do not get their TRPs. A media runs for TRPs. But because of the social media has taken over. A lot of part of the mainstream media has been taken up by social media. Because I'm a part of social media, I can say this, that it is the responsibility. It is the responsibility of social media. Nowadays, we are taking up on all issues. The smallest of issues the social media is taking up. So why don't we do it? Why don't we take it up? Let the media go and collect their TRPs. We have no TRPs to collect. We have no brownie points to collect. So why don't we stand up for these children? Why don't we stand up for these issues which are more important in society than the issue of an actress getting caught in a drug trafficking case or a politician doing something? That's the job of the mainstream media. Let them collect their brownie points. We as social media persons, as responsible citizens, we also have some duty towards our country. Let us as social media personnel, let us take up these issues. Orijit, I would like to tell you that I would try my best to take up this issue on the social media. You know very well, I pick up issues of this type. Mental health was an issue which I picked up because I felt that people are ashamed to speak about mental health. People say, oh, that is nothing. Oh, you are feeling sad. That is nothing. They do not understand that mental health is an issue. In today's world, it is an issue.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I will, from my end, I can say, as a social media person, I will take up this issue as much as I can. That will be my contribution towards my country and the children, being a mother myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakidi, for your insights and another facet of the role of the media and whatever we are discussing today, apart from what Mr. Banerjee has said. I would now go to Mr. Thirumai Banerjee. He is the Deputy News Editor of Times News Network Northeast, and he has been operating. I just had a chat with him a few days back. He has been operating mainly from Delhi, and now he is here, I think, in Calcutta for a couple of years now. I think he will be there. So I would request Mr. Banerjee to share your inputs because you are in the editorial place of a major media house and you can really help us in shaping things and making a policy on this to a certain extent to which you can, of course. So I would request you to please speak on this.
Thank you very much. Very, very good evening to everyone. A couple of very pertinent points have been raised regarding news coverage and the way news selection happens. I will get to that, but before that, I would like to give an insight as to how and why at times the core issue, in this case, the marital discord that we are talking about, the core issue, how it gets sidelined when news selection happens. Oh, this was around 2010 when I started off my career as a journalist. There was this story about a girl from Bhilwara. She had been rescued from Bhilwara in Rajasthan. She had been rescued from a sex racket in Gujarat. I was in Ahmedabad back then. The story was about how she was rescued. She was a 16-year-old girl. It was about the trauma she faced, etc., etc. So we took that story, very harrowing tale, and somewhere as a footnote, it was mentioned that she had been married off and she was staying somewhere in Rajasthan, and she faced domestic violence. So as I called up the reporter to ask exactly what happened, like the 16-year-old girl, when did she get married? Was there anything more to it? I figured out that this girl did not have a father. There was no whereabout of the father. The mother could not bear the cost of 3 daughters and a couple of other sons, so she had to get her married off. So imagine the story starts with the girl getting rescued from a sex racket. She reaches there from a violent in-laws family. She reaches there from domestic violence, as she flees domestic violence. Imagine the series of incidents that have happened. The primary cause could probably have been the father and the mother not staying together. There was no whereabout of the father. The parents had separated. There was no formal divorce. In rural India, we know that formal divorces are a bit of a rarity. While charges are pinned at us that why are you not talking about children's issues, children's rights in media cases? How is it possible at times? It becomes exceedingly difficult to raise issues when there are layers and layers, and when the footnote happens to be the core cause of the problem. Here poverty and other angles, other aspects are there, but as journalists, we are always looking for that one peg of the story, that one most astonishing fact that would draw the readers or the viewers' attention. Here, the girl's plight was way more important than the assumption or the understanding that the plight might have been triggered by her parents' separation. Now, if I talk about Bengal, Bengal has the highest incidences of child marriage as per a 2015-16 survey that I encountered. Murshidabad at 39.9% has the highest number of child marriages, had the highest number of child marriages that year. Now, imagine if I take the Bhilwara story into account. How many of these child marriages might have been caused because couples had separated and it was impossible for one parent to take care of the daughter? Consider this, cases of child and women trafficking in India, highest is Maharashtra, second is Bengal at 31,000. Then these are reported cases, mind you, reported cases. How many of these are caused by marital discords is something we would never get to. If I look abroad, since I read up a little and I studied how other countries are dealing with this, Australia is a prime example. For the most of the 20th century, marriage and divorce remained state matters. And they had extremely stringent laws for applying for divorce, where one couple had to cite exceedingly stringent and excruciatingly detailed analysis of domestic violence or other charges on the couple, without which they could not get a divorce done. Now, recently, only in 2017, the Australian Law Reform Commission recommended scrapping of the entire scrapping of the National Family Court and handed over control to the states and territories, with the aim of improving the handling of domestic violence and child protection rights. Now, I quote this attorney who fought the case in court there. They said family law was viewed as run by strict doctrinal principles that didn't take into consideration the psychological, social consequences of a breakdown of a relationship and the effect it has on the child who are involved in this case. This does not hold true for Australia alone. There have been enough stories covered in the media. There was one story by ABC News as to how a woman fled from her husband in New South Wales. She took up the case. She moved court. The court, she couldn't prove her charges. She had claimed that the domestic that her husband had inflicted had been extremely violent, not just on her but also on her two children. The court, obviously, because of lack of evidence, they cited that the children will have to be shared. The mother did not accept it and fled. When she was caught 3 years later, she was sent to jail because of contempt of court. Now, that's not the point. The point is, amid all this, we are getting to hear the father's version, the mother's version. What about the child's version, which Devanjan sir and Mitra ma'am has spoken about? Essentially, as media persons, we are perennially looking for that one point in the copy, as in the Bhilwara case. When exactly can we pick up the child's issue and do a story from there? When I looked up as to whether there have been stories from that perspective, I encountered a bizarre story from Dallas, where a couple was fighting a divorce case in court. Normally, such a case would hardly receive any attention, but this was a dispute on the gender of the child whose custody both parents were seeking. While the mother said that the 7-year-old was a transgender girl, the man insisted that she was a boy. The man insisted that he was a boy. Now, there was widespread coverage in the area. Maybe the kid's identity got revealed too in the process. Can we imagine the amount of harassment the child must have faced as a 7-year-old? Everybody talking about whether you're a boy, a girl, or a transgender. In the Indian perspective, the rights issue is very important, and so are the numbers. Devanjan sir pointed out the enormity of and the enormous amount of children whose rights are violated. In a study conducted in India, Brazil, and Kenya, there are 300 crore children who have no basic rights. That's 50% of the children in these population. Debanjan sir's number was in 2016. His is a more updated number. He spoke about 55%.
Yes, yes.
So essentially, child's rights in these cases, the violation and the extent of violation is enormous. Against this, the number of divorce cases filed in India is rather low if we compare to other countries. The number was something around 1 out of 1,000 marriages in 2007. It has gone up 13 out of 1,000. That's still low given if we compare other countries. And these are again reported cases. Now, if we briefly talk about the law, the perspective of law, during a divorce case, the father is supposed to pay a maintenance to the wife, a part of which goes to the child's welfare. According to the Guardian and Wards Act 1890, the court decides which one parent is better for the child. It's usually the mother who has the upper hand. Now, last year, the Supreme Court observed that children are always the losers in parents' custody battles, and they pay the heaviest price. The court clearly stated that that it is the end of a marital relationship, but it does not necessarily mean that it's the end of parental responsibilities. That story got widely covered. It made it to page 1. We were not exactly looking for TRPs at that point, but when court says something as strong as this, we do carry it in the right places. But again, the charges of us carrying these stories too far in between and seldom are not entirely misplaced. What can the role of media be? It's interesting. As I mentioned, when we see a story, we have to figure out how to go about it. Getting the child's perspective here in these cases of divorce becomes extremely difficult. The child's voice does go unheard, but there are problems in doing stories from the child's perspective as well. In many cases, the children are far too young to speak for themselves. Second, there is always the risk of child's identity getting revealed, which we as media houses try to hold back from doing. At least print media, as part of a print media house, I can tell you, we are conscious about the social repercussions, and we strictly avoid giving out details of the child unless it's absolutely necessary. The third problem in doing a story directly from the child's perspective is that accessing the kid in the first case might often be a problem. And fourth, asking questions about parents and family troubles would unwittingly lead to the child opening up the bruises all over again, the emotional trauma that he or she might be going through at home every single day. If we did that, then child's right groups would not be wrong and to point out and would appreciate that, it's not good to fiddle with a child's emotions, especially when he or she is as young as 7, 8, 9, 10. You can't ask them tough questions. There was a 2015 movie called Room, where a man keeps his wife and his child confined to a room for several years. After the wife and child, they finally make it out of that captivity. The media, somebody from the media, journalist, asks the woman questions such as, why did you keep the child confined? Did you not think about the child? Were you too selfish just because you needed somebody to hold on to? You were keeping this child who could probably have had a better childhood. The mother gets to a point where she feels suicidal. The kid overhears the question. This is a movie, mind you. I'm talking about a movie. There can be a replication in real life. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is, a woman in her 30s or 40s finds it difficult to face questions such as these. How tough would it be for a child to say this, to reply to these queries, especially when he or she is already going through that at home every single day? Now, with every problem comes solutions. There is a way out. For starters, we can try finding a way to mention about the child each time we are dealing with a divorce case. Now, I'll be fair here. Often we don't even get to a point where we are even talking about children in divorce cases. We are saying that this is what the father side said, this is what the mother side said, and this is what the court said. Done and dusted. If the court has made relevant observations, we obviously take that into account and do a story accordingly. But while dealing with disputes, for starters, media should also, we should also never forget the kid. So each time a court states something, the media always reports it. So that's one thing which is in place, that's one thing which is fine. So let's not tinker with that. While the courts will come up with these judgments, the media too needs to keep the issue relevant. Like most other deep-rooted problems, this too has many layers. to address the problem of the child, we must engage parents. While couples themselves should be able to figure this out, journalists too should do stories and talk to parents about the plight of the children, about their children, instead of just going for normal court reportage. One practical problem that happens from the journalist's perspective is that one journalist has to do several stories. He or she is in court, he finds some sensational or some strong debates going on, or some strong court hearing going on regarding a marital dispute, and you pick up some points. You don't exactly get to interview the parents. If the journalist takes a little bit of extra time and goes and actually interviews the parents and asks a couple of questions, he or she, and the journalist concerned here, could probably get to a point where you can talk about the child too. That is where a story can be done, and that is where awareness can be raised. Again, there are a lot of n number of celebrity divorce cases which keep happening every now and then. And in these cases, there ought to be instances where there are stories about the child. The fight between Britney Spears and Kevin Federline a couple of years ago reached epic proportions. It led to a prolonged, headline-grabbing custody battle. Everybody was talking about, okay, Britney Spears is fighting a divorce case, etc., etc. Now, there was a 4-hour standoff with cops because the court had said that the father, Mr. Kevin Federline in this case, deserves the access to the kid. But Britney Spears refused to do, as in a lot of other cases where one partner refuses to give access to the child to the other partner. Now, while a lot of media houses did stories on that, even international media. I'm talking about Britney Spears here, not a Bollywood actor. Now, even there, I struggle to find out stories about the child who probably doesn't even know the stature. He or she might not be aware at 4 years of age that my mother is Britney Spears. So when talking about divorce cases, it is wise to take into account children. And one strong thing I can feel while I was preparing for this webinar, I felt that media campaign is something that has not happened. By media campaign, I'm not referring to big hoardings and big billboards and some anchor TV news anchor slapping his desk and trying to make a point. What I'm talking here is we can look at marital problems. We can do a series of stories on marital problems because not each problem can be different. While each problem can find, another voice, can echo in another individual. The one problem in X couple can be reflective in problem in Y couple, which we can probably cover. So each time we do a story, it will probably lead to, more awareness. NGOs, governments, it is also their role to work in sync with media houses and also reach out to us in case there are key developments. They do, and when there are reports in relevant reports, we do take points and we do frame stories, and those are given good enough display. We also need to look at the child symptoms, which Mitra ma'am rightly pointed out. Maybe how some child might be heavily depressed, or a survey which might be showing how many children whose parents are undergoing a divorce case are showing suicidal tendencies, or how a child's performance in school is getting affected. Journalists obviously will have to work extra, but there is always a way. It's not easy, but it can be done. If government, the NGOs, media houses can come together to raise an issue, people will eventually find it impossible to ignore it. The focus here, what we should remember and everyone else should remember, is not the person, not the child facing the problem, but it is the problem that the child is facing. The focus is essentially on the problem and not the person facing these. There can also be radio talk shows, television phone-in programs. Remember earlier there used to be people calling in television programs. Time to, I think, go back to those. That way the child's identity is also, concealed. It's not revealed to everybody. A newspaper corner maybe where children can send their write-ups. We can have something like that even on Children's Day, where a child yearns to be with both her parents. When schools do an event to counsel children, there might be some kids whose parents might be going through a marital discord. Those events in school can be covered by media houses. There could be stories on what teachers and what counselors might have to say, because they are the ones who have directly spoken to children. That way, you're not asking children hard questions. That way, you're not revealing their identity. So a lot of problems are taken care of if we are covering a school that has probably done a counseling session of children. Credit to NGOs like Ayushman for working to include parental alienation in the field of research, as Mr. Mitra rightly pointed out, that not all NGOs are directly working for children suffering because of marital discord. Credit to them, they are trying their bit. They've been largely successful in including mental health appraisal in schools following the guidelines. As I sum up, I would like to again refer to one movie. Now, I just can't not talk about it. This is an Iranian film called A Separation. It was probably released in 2011. It was the first film from that country to win an Oscar in the foreign film category. Now, as the title of the film suggests, a separation, the entire movie, the couple keeps fighting on different cases, and at the end, the judge realizes that this marriage has broken beyond repair. He grants the divorce and asks the child, who would you want to stay with? The child says, I have made up my mind, but I would not want to say it in front of both my parents. The judge asks both the parents to leave the room, the courtroom. The movie ends there. It's a beautiful way to tell the audience, the viewers, that no child wants to stay with one parent. The audience or those watching the film never get to know which parent the child actually wants to stay with. Asking a 7, 10, 13, 12-year-old to pick one parent and choose one parent from another is like asking a human being, a fully grown human being, as to which leg would you prefer, your right leg or the left leg. You need both. It's very, very hard. While for parents, divorce might be a necessity, but for a kid, it can be extremely harrowing. You need both those pillars in your formative years and even later. We are dependent on our parents. Even I am in my 30s, people in their 40s, 50s, everybody is dependent on their parents. Imagine a child, 9-year-old, 8-year-old, just about learning stuff, learning how to compete in this world, being asked which parent would you prefer. While there can be n number of media campaigns, there needs to be some, while NGOs, governments can come together, we can have these webinars, these discussions. At the end of the day, the onus should be on parents to understand. For that, we have to take up the responsibility. Credit to the organizers here, and we should have more such discussions. Parents should understand the need for the children. A child, a 7, 10, 15-year-old deserves access to both his or her parents. There can be no dispute on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee, for a very informative and interesting session from you, and also with some very good research, I think, with some figures. And in this respect, I would just like to draw your attention to two things. Although we have said that the media has not been that much sensitizing on this platform, there is a movie that has come out, Shakuntala Devi, and that movie has one portion of it dedicated to the concept of parental alienation. So that is, I would also request everybody who's joined this webinar here and to your associates also to view the movie and critically analyze on that part, because that part has been unfortunately left out by the media because it will attract a lot of criticism of the lady maybe. So, but this is a film which has portrayed beautifully a significant portion of parental alienation in the daughter. That is one part. The other, you all know there was a very recently a very sensitized murder case in Pulbagan, that Amit Agarwal murder case. And if you go to the mainstream media, you'll find Anand Bazar has reported on this with a heading. I think after a very long time, a main newspaper has given a bold heading like this. The father was actually missing his son, and they were in a custody battle in the court. And the court apparently had given an interim custody to the mother of the child, and the father was unable to meet the child, and that is also a cause of factor of frustration in that person who created this act. So when I spoke this to the State Commission of Protection of Child Rights, but what is unfortunate, what happens in these situations in our country in the administration, people are not very sensitive. What they have done, they have picked up the child and put them in a home. But do you think putting them in a home is a solution, and that creates more trauma to the child? So I don't think that is a very right step that the government did, or it's not in Bengal it has happened. It happens in India, and I would request the media people who are here and also other people that because since you have the access to the government, you should make the government and the Ministry of the Women and Child Development understand these problems. But this is not the way how you treat children. So it was very shocking. I don't know what happens in developed countries. I don't know, but at least in India, it has happened, and as recently as 2 months back. So that is one factor I would just request you all to keep in mind. The next is, of course, the fact that you all have come forward to address one of these topics, because when we do this work on the ground level, we face a lot of mental resistance from people, because we talk of something which directly hits a lot of people and a lot of interests, and that interest comes from various sources. It's not really a monetary interest, but it's psychological, social interests of people involved. And there are very powerful section of people who gets involved into this, including the judiciary and the law, which I don't know whether I'm rightful in saying this in the media, but these marital disputes are taken as a source of revenue for some sort of people, and they use these children as chattels in their battles. That the legal fight goes on and on and on and on. So there's a lot of other complications involved into it, and I hope that the society will understand in due course with time and look forward to protect these children and their future. And
Mr. Mitra, Mr. Mitra,
yes,
in addition to that, exactly what exactly yours. They spoke about different case studies.
yes,
Thirumoy,
yes,
Spoke about
yes,
different news stories.
yes,
So I'd like to request everyone to watch a movie. The movie was released in the year 2019.
right,
It's the name of the movie was Kidnap. Right? It was a movie
yes,
from Chennai. It was made. Then the Hindi version was also made.
right,
So it is a movie exactly what exactly you are talking about, when
yes,
the parents are alienating their children
yes,
and they're abusing their children, and the children are the worst victim, and these children are used for child trafficking. The maximum child trafficking in our
yes,
country, especially in the subcontinent, is taking place once the children are being abused and alienated from the
yes,
parents,
yes,
and these kind of
yes,
people, the unholy nexus between
yes,
the power corridor and some
right,
businessmen are
right,
using these children
right,
for the child trafficking.
right.
Exactly, this movie was talking about this Kidnap. It was made in the year 2019.
Right. I would request everyone to watch this movie, as Mr. Banerjee has suggested. And I once again thank the panelists, because I have found that people in the media are also very shy of talking these things. I myself has visited a lot of media houses and spoken to the editors, and they feel shaky in trying to put this forward in the
Sir,
media. I don't know why it is,
Mr. Mitro,
but yes,
there are two reasons for the media compulsion. Also, my esteemed friend
yes,
Thirumai would also agree with me.
right,
There are two theories that are basically playing a very interesting role. One
right,
is an agenda setting theory. That
right,
agenda setting theory means when the editor is being succumbed
right,
by the different pressures. It can
right,
be political pressure. It can
right,
be the pressure from the power corridor.
right,
It can be the pressure from the business corridor, from the
right,
business point of view. So
right,
this agenda setting theory is made, and this has been imposed to the editorial team,
yes,
that during the selection of the story you need
right,
to select this story, and
right.
you need to drop this story.
Yeah. So
This is
then,
one reason.
yeah,
It is the compulsion of the media. Another compulsion is, Thirumai must be knowing this from the media's point of view, spiral of silence theory. When
yes,
sometimes you are making a story, this
right.
story can create a huge problem for you. So let us drop the story. So
Right.
sometimes media is also succumbed, because the
Yes.
people those
Yes.
are working in the media, they have the flesh and blood. They are also to an extent apprehensive, because this power corridor, different powers can drag you into different problems.
Yes.
So this
Yes.
is
Devanandan sir,
the
if I may, sorry, I'm just
Yes,
interrupting
please.
there. If
sure,
I may just
please.
say, if I've picked up a controversial story, and I just marginally go somewhere wrong somewhere, Orijita would be the first one to call me up and say, hey, "What have you done? You didn't check that." So it is exactly why we have to be 100% sure in
Absolutely.
cases
Yes.
involving children and women
Right.
before we let it out.
Right.
But your point is absolutely right. At times, legitimate and legit stories get buried that way.
Right. So,
Absolutely
yeah,
true. We
but
are trying
yeah,
to
so
take the
our point is
perception.
only to request you all that since it's a very social issue, and it's a child issue, I think it should be dealt with very neutrally, and
Absolutely, absolutely.
mass awareness
That is
must
the
be
way.
made on this. Yes, yes.
That is our
Absolutely.
basic morality and
Absolutely,
ethics.
absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely. No doubt about that. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Yes,
So
Divya,
one thing I would
yes.
like to say, when it comes to narrative building, so this children issue should not have any agenda in it, because
Absolutely.
we are all parents. Most of us are
Absolutely.
parents. Either people will get married, they'll have children. What is there in a child abuse case? Why should there be an agenda in it? As simple
Madam,
as that.
madam, the
It should
problem
be
is,
very clear.
madam, the
Yeah, yeah.
problem is ethics is in oblivion, right? That's why the law is
Ethics is in
imposed.
oblivion. Oh yes,
So that's why
ethics
the
is in
law is
oblivion.
imposed. This is very unfortunate.
Very,
And
very
one
true.
more thing we should, I think through social media and media, we should make people realize, the parents who are going in for divorce, that nobody has the complete right over the child, not one parent.
Absolutely.
The word parent means both. Parent does not mean either mother or father. So nobody should think that I have control over my child, I should have complete control over my child.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
one of the parent is not abusive, then the control should be given to both. Both the parents should have the rights over the children.
Yes, absolutely.
This should not happen that they start
Right.
thinking that only I should have that right over my child. That should stop. That should stop immediately.
Yes, and
Absolutely,
actually, the
absolutely.
Law Commission in 2015 has been working on this. They had submitted a Law Commission report of 257 to Parliament, but unfortunately, from 2015, this has been lying in storage. I would request, Madam, to please, if you can please take it up in your corridor. You have access to people, and there is a minister who is sitting in West Bengal also on the appropriate department. So I would request you can take this issue up, because I don't know, the politicians have found this issue not of a much of a bun burner, because that will not get them votes.
That will not give them votes. Exactly. It's only a question of vote, narrative building, and
Yes.
selective
Yeah,
issues.
so
Agenda.
we have been pursuing them, and we have written a lot of letters to the Ministry of Law and Justice. So every time they are passing the buck and saying that we have shifted it to the state to give their views. But I don't know what states will give their views, because the views are already there in the Law Commission report itself, which has been made by the experts of law, and they have suggested a mechanism of shared parenting that you're talking about, and so that will reduce this abuse of practice of abuse, in fact, of the child. So anyway, so
অরিজিৎ বাবু the সমস্যাটা হলো, সে একটা বিখ্যাত প্রবচন আছে না, যে বিচারের বাণী নিভৃতে কাঁদে।
no, that is not
Justice delayed is justice denied.
that is true.
Denied.
So anyway, I would now request any of you who have joined for this webinar, if you have certain points to make to our panelists, you can just put in your views within 5-10 minutes, and then I think but yes.
Origita, this is from Delhi.
Yes, I think
I didn't get your name. It says this is the deadly. Can you repeat the name, please?
yes, he's Chitrodeep, I think. Chitrodeep.
Okay.
And
Hi.
Gupta.
Noise in communication.
Right.
Okay. Now, I think we need to understand that India has gone through a lot of, war and mayhem. Now, there are two distinct set of laws which have confused most Indians, which happens in typically most matrimonial disputes. Now, one set of law is last codified by the laws of Manu, which is called Manu Smriti. I don't know how many people have read it. It provides you guidance how to get married, at whom you should get married to, whether there is a mental match-up or not. Yes, there are certain sections which may not be good. It may have existed then. But because most of the Hindu laws can be modified over a period of time, they can be interpreted in the current scenario. Now, most of the laws, personal laws, they derive versions. European versions come from ancient Babylonia. There was a king called Hammurabi who codified what claim as contact-based
There is some problem in your this thing connection. I had a problem on
His voice is not
breaking.
coming properly.
Voice.
Voice.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
better.
Yes, better.
Okay. Now, Manu laws are based on the consent of people. That is a person-to-person relationship. How to build up a relationship. Whereas in ancient Iraq, around 1800 BC, contract system started coming into place. Now, this was codified by Mr. Hammurabi, who was the king there. Now, he gave a lot of excuses how to apply for divorce. If money doesn't come, then you apply for divorce. He also codified how to be unfaithful to your partner and all that. Lot of excuses. The European laws, the Arabic laws, everything draws its inspiration from what they claim as great laws, which is not. Now, these laws can only be used for things like, equipment, quantify this is the amount of quantity, this is of strength. Whereas relationships are the ones which are codified by the Manu's laws in around 2,200 years ago.
Can you
Now,
please tell your
after,
question, please, sir? Hello.
I think it's better if you can post your question so we can. Your
Please
voice
tell your
is breaking.
question.
What is your
Please be
question?
specific with your question.
No, I'm coming to my question because I need to explain the actual situation also. Now, Indian civilization has been there for thousands of years. Most of the family court system work as per the Hammurabi Code of Conduct. Now, today we know what is the state of affairs in Iraq, and that's exactly what happened in Babylonia. Because soldiers went back to their home, which have been taken away by other people, and they have to pay the price for it. And that is as per the Hammurabi Code. You can choose to life, and you can pay for it. Pay for it. Money was the criteria in Hammurabi Code, and that is exactly how the family courts work today. They are using Arabic laws in Indian concept, and whether the present media is aware that we are being killed internally also. It is not that China and Pakistan. These are the laws which will lead us to Iraqis ourselves. My question is whether you are aware of it or not, how that 50% of suicide of BSF Jawans are because of matrimonial disputes, because exactly the same Hammurabi Code is applied without any consent, without any knowledge of people, in the excuse that he's a man. The fact of the matter is, as per Islamic Sharia and as per Jewish laws, these are the only two laws which claim superiority of the man over a woman. No other law, even Christian doesn't claim so. Is the war against Jews and Islam, then they have to go to the Islamic lands and try to apply those laws. Why use Hindus as an experimental guinea pigs? All the laws of Hinduism that are made are codified as per Hammurabi and as per Arabic laws. And we are being fooled and told that these are Hindu laws. These are not Hindu laws. The last law was Manusmriti, if that can be modified. My question is, when will the present media understand that this is actually a national security issue also? When army personnel commit suicide, when BSF Jawan commit suicide, it's not about just you and me. All of the children go.
Sir, sadly, the media does not frame laws. The media does not frame laws. It at best helps in policy making or law framing. So, if we only report what is now, if there is a data, or if ever we come across a report or any analysis that suggests that Jawans, 50% of suicides among Jawans are because of a certain marital discord in India, we will probably take it up. But that's only after
You can take it
enough.
from Arijit Da.
Yes.
You
Yes,
can take
okay.
it from Arijit Da because it's enough data.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
It's not because to what you are.
Yeah.
you are
Okay.
walking
We've
with a
taken your
walking stick.
question. So as Mr. Banerjee has answered you, so if you have some research or work on that, you can forward it to him also to study, or to our panelists. They can really go through at their spare time. Definitely.
Your question is dealing with a huge macro thing, and thing is that what exactly Tirumar Banerjee right now pointed out, that we are the media people, or we are the people representing media. We are the fourth estate, so we have to depend on the judiciary. It is the sole and exclusive responsibility of the judiciary to frame out or framework some laws, amend the laws, and whatever the wrong is going on, we can hardly cover this, right? We have no right to alter the constitutional amendments, the different laws which has been enacted by different parts of the country across the globe. The media can only can report, if they find something is wrong is going on, they can definitely pinpoint as a watchdog. But we are not in a position to rectify the law. Your question is very pertinent, very relevant, but not for this webinar. But it can be discussed in any further course of time. That is my take about your question.
Yes,
So this
yes, ma'am.
Deepak can ask a question.
You can, excuse me, you can send your question, this, whatever you said about Hammurabi's code, if you have anything written material on it, that our Indian law is following Hammurabi's code, you please send it to Origin so that we can do the study, and if needed, we will talk to them, because all of us, we are well aware that our law, the judiciary, the law, it's very old, and there are a lot of things, lot of changes that need to be made. We are all aware of that, but we really need some proof so that we can forward it to the legal people that these are the things which you are pointing out. Please send it to Origin. Please send it so that we can also do our bit in it.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you.
Anyone?
Anyone of, yes, Mr. Deepak, you want to say something?
Yes.
Yes,
See,
please,
I mean,
please.
I think it is, going back to, I think the courts, they look at mothers favorably.
We are not. You are not very clear. Actually, can you just increase your voice volume?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. So I think, this is again going back to the, the role of the press. So, I think in the courts, what happens is that, the custody is given to the mothers. And I think the newspaper articles, magazines, they glorify the role of a single mother, as if, they are taking the entire burden of the child, whereas that, they are using and abusing the court process to take the child away from the father. And second thing is, in this day and age, when both mother and father are working, even fathers are sharing the responsibility. So isn't it the role of the press to say that fathers can be equal, if not, lower caregivers for the children, basically? So that to espouse the cause of the father and not glorify the role of single mother.
Yes, Tirupati, then I'll.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a pretty it's something we even as men tend to think at times, that why are single mothers glorified? But the difficulties the women go through cannot be denied at the end of the day. But if at all it comes to a point where those stories or the sharing of those difficulties or the stories of those single mothers actually lead to lead to changing of the minds among the judges, or lead to certain judgments which would probably have been different, then yes, I think there is a point where some rectification needs to be done. But even when the single woman talks, she will probably talk about the difficulties. So the difficulties are also a part of that story that we are probably talking about. So the moment you talk about the difficulties, you realize that the going isn't easy, and it would have been easier had the woman been with somebody else. So that point, as readers, if I'm reading a news story, I also have to figure out that for one person, whether it is the father or the mother, as you pointed out, that there might be more single mothers than single fathers. There are enough single fathers too, but when we are talking about single mothers, we are also talking about the difficulties they face. It's not a rosy tale we are trying to give out to our readers there. So I don't think that will actually shape the judgment. Devanjan sir, you.
Yes. In addition to what exactly my esteemed speaker told right now. See, for example, in press, in media, there is a component called human interest story. So if there is a single mother, and when her struggle is going on with lots of problems she is facing, she's not getting the alimony properly. Maybe she's getting the alimony which is not adequate. Sometimes she has been abused. She's facing lots of problem even within the society. Our society is still very orthodox. If a single mother is staying with a kid, many questions are coming from the neighbors, which often happen in our society. So try to understand there's a huge amount of emotional struggle, mental struggle, even financial struggle is taking place for that particular lady, and there's a huge amount of emotional ingredients are omnipresent in those stories. So naturally the media will definitely highlight the story because it has got more human interest, more emotions are involved. But definitely you are also correct that in some cases, definitely if the story is like this, that sometimes single mothers are over glorified. So it is the the discretion of the editorial team. They have to go through the story in details. Maybe they have to investigate the story, the whole facts, that what exactly the real truth is. And if they find yes, the single mother is not doing well, or something wrong is going on her part, in that case the story can be different. Even there are some stories media also cover for the single fathers also. There are lots of struggles are being nowadays. Has to be encountered by the single father. The same story. But yes, I'm again telling you, end of the day, try to understand media is also doing a business to an extent. Definitely media has to do an ethical business, but media will definitely pick up the story. That story has got more human interest ingredient, and more emotions and struggles are involved. And in most of the cases, we find if there are 10 cases, maybe in 7 cases, the single mothers are being suffered. That's why this kind of stories are picked more. That is my answer, right?
Right.
Sure. So just one point that maybe in this day and age where fathers are so both mother and father are working. So
I agree with you, Mr. Deepak. I'm 100% agree with you. There are many cases when the fathers are being exploited, and nowadays, especially in the urban areas, the cases are coming where the men are being exploited. Lots of case studies are there, and you'll be definitely finding some stories nowadays are coming in West Bengal also. I could remember there are 5 to 6 stories when the woman is brutally exploiting his husband, exploiting him mentally, physically, and ultimately murdering him. Even some cases took place recently in the recent past, that even the children were the victim of the mother. Even the mother brutally killed her child. This kind of incident also took place. So it is absolutely it is the media. They have to come up with the real things. What exactly behind the story? They have to investigate the truth, and they can then and only then they can interpret the story. So it varies from situation to situation.
Yeah, right. Anyway,
Mr. Banerjee,
let us
Mr.
focus on the child issue now, because I think those are different
Yes,
controversial,
yes, we are deviating. We are
controversial issues
deviating.
which
Yes.
can be kept for the
Mr.
other.
Banerjee,
Uh,
I would like to
forum.
make one small point. I think,
Yes,
can I go ahead?
yes,
Hello.
yes.
The concept, I think this is an outdated concept where we always take that the story from a woman's side would get a lot of sympathy, would win the hearts and all. Okay, so the modern age has changed. In the last say maybe 30-40 years, it has changed drastically. So we are not in tune with the current times. If the media is thinking in those terms, if I carry the story of a woman, or I give more weightage to that, that would give me more
No, what I'm
points and
saying
all.
is
I think
let us
that's a
not
wrong concept.
dwell on this
I think there
topic.
is a
Let us
yeah.
keep the topic to the gist of what today's webinar was, is on the side of the child. So if you have anything to say on the child issue, you can just put it forward. That's better.
But since this came up, so I'm just
Yeah.
mentioning that point. Like I feel that these something wrong concept that some people have, that okay, that it would carry more weightage and it would carry well with the people, but in reality it is not.
Right. Okay. Fine. So, thanks. So, anyway, we thank the panelists today for this evening. And in case you have any other additional queries, you can forward it to me. I can forward it to our ST panelists, and they can get back at their spare time. And I thank all of you, the three of you, for having spared your time on a lockdown year, at least, and
Thank you so much. Thank you so much
yeah,
to come up
share
with
your
such a
thoughts on
very
a
interesting
yeah,
webinar.
it's a social pressing issue, and I would be maybe disturbing you with certain of my inputs about this issue to all three of you, so that you can at your spare time give a weight to it and just go
I
about
think
it.
above all, it is all our responsibility to put forward the
Yes, sir.
children issues
Absolutely,
across different social media portals
absolutely.
everywhere in our
Yeah.
friends, relatives,
In
and
fact,
acquaintances about them.
yes.
Yes, we have to fight
Yeah.
this collectively.
Right. Right.
Actually,
Absolutely.
like Mr. Kaushik Chatterjee pointed out, we
Yes.
have been talking about the woman, the man.
Yes.
The good thing is, over the past 30, 40 years, today we are actually talking about concrete, we are holding a concrete discussion on children. That is
Correct.
a
Correct.
big step in the right
Yes.
direction.
Big step.
Absolutely. I think at least yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Indeed.
So thank you so much. Yeah, and
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Good
much.
night. Good night.
Thank you
Good
so
day.
Take care
much.
and
Good
stay
day.
safe always, sir.
Yes, yes.
Take care and stay safe always, sir.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.